How much money has the federal government spent? That's what we're going to look at right here. I'm going to give you the breakdown. I will show you where they are spending this money. If you watch through this video, you're going to understand it. You're going to know where the money is going to in dollar terms, in percentage terms. And of course, this video was requested by you. That's what I do here on this channel. My name is David Quintieri. I take the complicated, I make it real simple. Some others out there like to look at these convoluted, in my opinion, very irrelevant things and then show it to you and say, hey, look how smart I am. Instead, I'm giving you what you actually need to know. How does that sound? Let's begin. First things first, how much money has the US government spent this year directly from the treasury.gov website? This is in fiscal year 2023. What is that? Is that 3.6 maybe million dollars or billion? No, how about 3.6 trillion dollars? Look at this. If we go down further, you can see something shocking. In fiscal year 2022, the government spent $6.27 trillion more than it collected in revenue, resulting in a deficit. One thing is clear, that each and every year the government's going to spend more money than they did previous. If you know anybody that works for any government agency, they tell you the exact same thing. We have to spend at least what we did last year, or else we are not going to be able to get additional funding. And that's just the way it works. They will cut the funding from that department. Oh, you didn't use it all? We'll take from there. No, they have to spend. And that's what they're doing here on the government level. If you were a corporation, or you with your individual expenses, if this was you and you took in so much in income, but you unfortunately paid more out, well, that would be, and they call it a deficit, that's you being well in debt. You see what's happening here? Oh, but it's because of this and because of that, and they make all these excuses, but let's be honest here. The amount of money that they are spending is completely unattainable over the long term in terms of getting to where they need to be. They don't ever intend on getting there. That's what's missing here. Look, I'll show you more. It's incredible. You could see it for yourself. Money for the federal spending primarily comes from the government tax collection and borrowing. In fiscal year 2022, government spending equated to roughly $3 out of every $10 of the goods produced and services provided by the United States. So we look in here, they break it down into terms of, what exactly. So I'll give you in dollar terms, I'll give you in percentage terms. What does the government buy? Well, how about this? I want to zoom in because I want you to be able to see that font, but I will leave the link in the description if you want to check it out. Let's talk about this in percentage terms, okay? So by far, Social Security is the number one expense, 19%. Below that is health. Below that is income security. And then, of course, we have death and war. That's 12%. Then beyond that is Medicare and education and so on. So we know where, in my opinion, your roads, people are like, oh, the infrastructure, we got to pay the infrastructure. I need to pay my taxes. Look at where the money is actually being spent. Do you see this? Social Security, health, income security, national defense, Medicare, so on. Your roads, your bridges, all that's such a small piece. Because why? Why is that the case? I don't think people realize this. Look at the numbers, look at the data, and see it for yourself. You got to realize this. When they are doing things like with Big Pharma, for instance, a small percentage of it is actually going to help the people in need. That's the absolute fact. Look at what goes on with the education system. The vast majority is built around all of the red tape, all of this nonsense, and yet you are just trying to get something so basic, like your kids educated, and we know that the education system right now is, it's just terrible. I won't go into that. But what I'm trying to show you is, you pay $1 into that system, you're gonna get maybe a couple pennies out of it. That's all because it's the bureaucracy, it's the red tape, and quite frankly, a lot of it is squandered. When we talk about Big Pharma, they know if you're going through insurance, let's say, okay, your insurance is the one that's making that claim. Well, you got to realize something here. When you are spending that money, the insurance, if they know you're using insurance, let's say in Canada, for instance, it's free healthcare, okay? they're going to charge you the highest level possible for that because they know that it's being paid for by the insurance. That's what I mean. And if it was competitive in some way, that this would actually bring rates down, bring prices down, but it's not, okay? So they're always going to charge the absolute maximum they can. That goes for pharmaceutical drugs, and that goes for any services that you have. There is no competitive market, and just like what we've seen before, none of that has ever been competitive in a way because Big Pharma has control over Canada, the UK, Australia, right? Those ones, but they also have control over the United States. So don't think that it's, oh, well, the single payer system and all that. No. Okay, we have to understand where the money goes to. It's the corporations, number one. It's, of course, all the big business and special interests. It's the lobbyists and everybody else connected. And meanwhile, you put $1 in, you get a penny out. That's what's going on. Let me show you more, okay? Here you could see it in dollar terms. This is shocking. $1.22 trillion spent on Social Security. They are going to have to slash this, and people are going to be real pissed off. Let me tell you. You go beyond that, health, income security, war and death at $767 billion. That has gone up, by the way, since this number. Okay, because of everything that they're doing, they are expanding that greatly. All of these, in fact, you can see the net interest. Interest, my friends, interest being just accumulating rapidly as these rates are increasing. Well, of course, you're going to have to pay more interest, a fictional thing. Interest is fake. It's not real. And yet we're paying all of this money. Every country is doing this. Just look, the general government. So of all those trillions, the general government expenses, which is bloated, massively bloated, is 129 billion. Transportation, okay? 132 billion. What about the veterans? The veterans were going to war to fight the bankers' wars, and now the expenses there, which a lot of people say they get mistreated, is $274 billion. Do you think that money is squandered and wasted? Do you think that it's maybe not going to the people who really need it, who are dealing with a lot of problems? Of course, I've heard 1,000 stories before. This is the way it goes, okay? Who controls the federal government spending? The lobbyists, that's funny. Okay, and the special interests and the corporations. Anyway, mandatory spending. So we have this just basically talking about the different types of spending that there are. So they have mandatory in here, there's discretionary, and then it goes on, okay? Supplemental spending. So it really depends on the circumstances. Of course, during 2020, they had this whole thing that they're going to spend a lot of extra money. Is it an emergency? The bill gets passed, it gets through, and of course, they could spend more on top of what they were allotted, okay? The Congress decides how much the money is going here and there. They pass it through a law. But what most people don't realize here is within that law, when they say we're going to spend, let's just say $1 trillion on healthcare. Okay, we're going to spend $1 trillion on healthcare. Well, you actually break that down. The healthcare that you as an individual receive, it's going to be just like a decimal point of that money. You just got to understand, you have to look into it a little bit further. This is like the introduction to that. And some people don't want to hear about it because they think, no, my money's not being wasted. No, it's not my money that's being wasted. This can't be. But if we could just shake that paradigm and realize the reality and realize the truth about this, well, then we're going to be grown up about it. It all depends on how you want to perceive the information, okay? It's there for you. It's all there. Everything's really public. This doesn't include the black budgets. This doesn't include things that, of course, are under the table. But that alone is more than what we should ever be dealing with. I mean, it is just shocking as far as I'm concerned. You asked for how much the government is spending. This is the case right here. I think it is incredible to see how we have gone from spending too much money to just completely overboard and never coming back. That's the circumstance that the United States is in, that all major economies are in right now for the most part. And now on top of that, you increase interest rates, the borrowing costs are going up, and everybody is dealing with this. Unfortunately, for a lot of people, they are just going to be blindsided by it all. I hope that people will understand about the pillars of prosperity and how important this really is. Knowing the truth. That's what I'm here to do, not the fluff, not the garbage. And I'm here to tell you straight up. You are not going to get the icing on the top of the cake, okay? You're not gonna go get that cherry on the top. I'm sorry about that, okay? I know a lot of channels, they're doing that. Oh no, there's 24 hours left. And they make you all scared and all this stuff. So yeah, let me click on it, let me click on it. Nothing. This is the way that it goes, okay? They're either trying to so hard to get those clicks from you and then ultimately delivering you, generic information that, in my opinion, is just fluff. It's just not important. We have to know the real deal. I'll see you next time.